Cassie Morgan, and my project was service-based. I focused on sexual health education on campuses and across the world. And before I get started, I just want to put out a sort of disclaimer that I like to give before any of the presentations that I do, just because out of all the presentations that I've personally been to in training and learning about this topic, the one thing I've taken away from all of them is that no one talks about it the right way. During every presentation I've been to, there's been one thing or two things that the speaker said that kind of rubbed me the wrong way or I didn't really like, and I just want to put that out there. If anything I say offends you, rubs you the wrong way, I'm sorry beforehand, and you can always contact me afterwards, and I'd love to follow up with any of you guys. So, now that that's cleared and out of the way, let's get started. So, the sort of thesis that I came to a conclusion on in the very beginning of the school year was that I wanted to work on preventing sexual assaults on campuses through the education of sexual health, safety, and well-being. So through my 3 years that I spent at Kimball Academy, I've noticed that sexual education here is virtually non-existent. Before this year, we've only had formal programming for freshmen during the choices class that they take for one trimester in their beginning of their freshman year, and they'll talk about like a myriad of different high school skills, and some of those are healthy relationships, your own body's health, but I don't really know what they talked about because I didn't get to experience choices. I came as a sophomore, so choices really only hits about 50 students every year out of the 350 students that are at Kimball at any given year. And then throughout the school year, we'll have speakers come periodically who might talk about these subjects, which is great. But I was really focused on coming up with a concrete education that we could use for all students for every year. So, especially at boarding schools, we are in a very unique environment that no one else really experiences, where we sort of have all the issues that high schoolers have and all the issues that colleges have, since we are at very young ages. That's sort of like the high school issues, where we all come in from all different backgrounds, whether you come from private school, public school, all the way across the world. Everyone has different notions about this topic, and there is no baseline level of education. So I really wanted to focus on addressing those challenges that we are all facing in the boarding school environment. So this is a problem that is happening on every campus in the country and every country in the world. So I just want to run through a few facts with you guys that really opened my eyes to how prevalent this issue is and how much it really is affecting every high schooler, which you don't really feel every single day depending on who you are in our community, but I think it's important to talk about. So we know that 1 in 3 females will experience physical, emotional, or verbal abuse during their time in high school. And to put that into perspective, that means that 51 of the students that are currently attending Kimball Academy this year will experience physical, emotional, or verbal abuse before they graduate, which is ridiculous. I think that is unacceptable, and I really want to change that. Another thing that we know is that 1 in 5 women will be sexually assaulted at least once before their graduation of college. So if every single student at Kimball this year went off to college next year, that means that 31 of them would be sexually assaulted at least once before graduating in 4 years. A little lesser known fact that I picked up was that sexual education actually leads to a decrease in risky behaviors by approximately 60%. And what those risky behaviors were defined as were delaying the first time that you have sex, reducing the frequency that someone decides to have sex, and increasing condom and contraceptive use. So I thought that was a win-win. However, 83.3% of women aged 15 to 17 first receive this sexual education after they first become sexually active, which has been cited as sort of a missed opportunity, if you will. So when I first started this project at the end of last school year, my heart immediately jumped to, or at the beginning of this school year, my heart immediately jumped to the time that I spent in the Dominican Republic over the summer. I went on a service trip with Mr. Nichols this past summer, and we worked construction and in a clinic, and I got to meet some amazing people who go there every single summer or live there and work there. And the cultural differences really shocked me, and that was something that I would love to improve, because I think on Kimball Union Academy's campus, sort of the issues I was facing were, how do we educate people about how to have healthy relationships and healthy sex lives if they choose to have that. But the issues in the Dominican Republic were far more basic as to how do we educate people about what their bodies are doing and what it means to get your period, and sort of those more rudimentary issues that are just as valid. So some of my experiences in the clinic in the Dominican Republic that sort of shaped my research for this was that how many young women I saw with children, and through my broken Spanish, communicating with them, the first things I would ask people were, oh, how old are you? And they would give their age, and then they would ask me, and I would tell them I was 17, and their immediate response was, oh, where are your children? Like, what are you doing without your baby? And I would have to explain to them, like, I don't have a child. And they would say, what? When are you gonna have children? And I would say, oh, maybe like 20s, 30s. And they would die and say, oh, that is way too late. What are you doing with your life? And that sort of opened my eyes to like the difference, the cultural differences surrounding this issue. So some of the things that I've implemented on campus, these are all of the different organizations that I either went to trainings for, brought to Kimball Union campus, or events that we celebrated. The first thing I did in the beginning of the school year was I made this flowchart adapted by what Dartmouth College is using to make sure that every student on campus knew what their rights were as a student and what their resources were on and off campus. I thought that we have so many great resources on our own campus and in the Upper Valley. However, a very small percentage of students actually knew that these were available and available to them, whether or not they were just in a crisis or just struggling with an issue that they maybe didn't think was big enough to get help for. So I was hoping that this could help every student, and I wanted to make sure that by the end of this chart, which was introduced both at all school meeting, posted in every dorm on campus, posted around campus in different public spaces, and discussed in advisory groups, that every student had at least one adult on campus and one adult off campus that they could talk to about these issues if they needed to. I also created an advisory program that every student got to participate in within their advisory groups. So at Kimball Union Academy, we are all the students are broken up into groups of like a max of 10 or so students to an advisor, and we meet with that group bi-weekly or once a week and become really close with that group of people. So I thought that would be the great opportunity to talk about such an emotional issue. And I was really surprised by how much people learned from this talk. For just one example, a lot of people were really shocked to hear that date rape drugs don't have an odor, flavor, or color. And I was really shocked to hear that people were shocked to hear that, so I thought that was worthwhile. I also brought Granite State Respect Week to Kimball Union Academy for the first time. This was an event that was celebrated all across New Hampshire, and it was a really robust curriculum that I wasn't able to bring to campus all by myself. There are many events for every single day, and that was just too much to handle the week before the winter musical. So I decided to compact all the information that they talked about into comprehensive emails that got sent out both to students and faculty once a day for the week. So there is just the beginning of an email, and here are a bunch of responses that I got, which I was just touched to receive. I also wrote for the Kimball Union Spring Winter magazine, if you got to see that, and I learned a valuable lesson from this one, which is to always title your pieces before handing them in, and always send in a photo if they choose to use a photo. But I was really touched that the community has responded so well and given me opportunities like this to showcase what I've been doing. 2 weeks ago, I think it was, maybe just last week, I brought, wow, it was last week. Okay. I brought Shine to campus, which was an 8-hour intensive health and sexuality training where an outside professional from the Upper Valley came in and talked to volunteer students. We got about 30 people interested in it, and then about 20 people who were able to make the commitment for the full 8 hours. And this was the highlight of my entire capstone, because I felt like it was an amazing environment where all the students were really attentive and supportive of each other. And I polled everyone afterwards, and I got 14 responses out of the 17 members, myself included. And the consensus among everyone, I won't read you all the quotes I put up, was that for the majority, people enjoyed it. For the majority, people really wanted this to be a part of the KUA curriculum. And for the majority, everyone learned something new, which I thought was great. And the last thing is I actually went 2 nights ago to New Hampton School and got to speak to all of their boarding female freshmen and sophomores and any upperclassmen who wanted to come about healthy relationships, specifically how to have healthy relationships in the boarding school environment. And I thought this was an incredible opportunity because not only did I feel really well received by another school, but that was the first time someone from KUA has been able to go to another school and host their own workshop, and I was so honored that they trusted me to do that. And I really hope that that can continue next year with other passionate students, and that we can further our connections with New Hampton School and other schools that we're affiliated with. And I look forward to sending everything I've done this year to other boarding schools in New England to see if they want to implement any of the resources I've created. So that's all I've got. And do I have time for questions? Yeah. Okay.
So you might have said this, but is this something that's going to be like put into KUA for the future?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've actually created a massive binder of everything I've done this year just to document it, and everything that I wish I could have done. So I wish I could have done more with Granite State Respect Week, and I wish I could have brought more resources. So one of the things that I definitely think will be around next year is that Shine will come back, because that was so well received, and hopefully these resources that I created this year can be recycled, like the flow chart, again and again at this school and other schools.
Sure.
Yep.
What was the hardest part of the process for you?
The hardest part was this. Speaking to people about it, especially groups of people. I've had to speak publicly about this 4 times now, and it's just such an emotional and uncomfortable topic, and it makes me honestly angry that it's so emotional and uncomfortable. I wish that we could all talk about this so openly, but we're working on it and we're getting there, so that's the hardest part for me. Anyone else?
Do you think you'll stay active in this space in college?
Yeah, I've actually looked into some college programs. One thing that I think is really cool that a lot of colleges are doing that I wish we could bring to KUA, but I'm not sure if I see it working, is sexual assault peer advisors, where students who are struggling can actually be paired up with other students who know a lot about the issue. So I'd be really interested in learning more through that type of program in college. Yep.
What was like the most difficult fact that you like picked up along the way? That like for you was really difficult to
Yeah.
come to terms with?
I'm hesitant to say this because I don't want to get it wrong, but I think I heard that 20 to 30%, I'm leaning towards more 30%, of women under the top age was 20 years old. So under the age of 20, become pregnant at least once before they, a quarter, that's it. 1 in 4 women become pregnant at least once before they turn 20, which I thought was mind-blowing that this is such an issue and that there's like this lack of education that's really happening and no one's talking about it. If that many people, if this is really happening